It's February and love is in the air. But if you're in a relationship with the wrong sales platform, things might not be feeling like roses and boxes of chocolates. Not to worry, Sales Hub from HubSpot is your knight in shining tech armor. Because darn it, you deserve to feel the love long past cuffing season. So it's time to break up with your old sales platform and fall head over heels in love with Sales Hub. With Sales Hub, closing deals is no big deal. Head to HubSpot.com/sales to try it for free. Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, February 27th. I'm John Weigell here with Sara Friedman, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. If you've gone through interviews for tech jobs recently, you've probably experienced extremely long wait times, labor-intensive processes, and increasingly tight deadlines. As the industry moves from free lunches and ping pong breaks to more layoffs, how are these companies changing their hiring practices, and is AI partly to blame? We'll chat about that in a little bit, but first let's give you the hits and headlines today across business and tech. Coming up first, Amazon replaced Walgreens on Monday as a member of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The Dow, unlike the S&P 500, is weighted by the share prices of each of its 30 stocks instead of total market cap. Next up, Lenovo unveiled its ThinkBook transparent display laptop, and it's exactly what it sounds like, which is a laptop with a completely see-through 17.3-inch screen. This is just a prototype, by the way. You can't expect to buy this anytime soon, but the see-through nature of it is very fascinating. And next, if you're looking for a dog that doesn't shed, bark, or have any accidents, Xiaomi's updated robot dog, the CyberDog 2, costs $3,000, and it can do backflips off your couch and also, yes, skateboards. Sara, what do you think about this $3,000 backflipping dog?
Yeah, so I watched the product video and there are a bunch of really sad looking real dogs in the background getting jealous of the robot dog, which already was breaking my heart. I will say they're making it look more dog-like than previous versions of the robot dog. This one actually has a head and ears that kind of look like a real dog. So it's a little less creepy, but definitely still creepy nonetheless and not cuddly like a real dog. Yeah. But I wonder if this could serve as like a companion for your actual dog, maybe while you're out, something along those lines, but definitely wouldn't be replacing a real pet for me anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And the video that you talked about, they even alluded in that video to the dog kind of having these sentient robot properties of being able to close your shades at night. It's kind of like a walking Alexa device, essentially, that has ears. The guy never really had much affection for it in the video, but his dog was like, what's that thing? So, pretty wild. Next up, talking about Google's AI updates, Android users will soon be able to message AI chatbot Gemini via any device, while Android Auto will summarize texts and messages for drivers. So your phones are getting a little more of an AI integration coming up if you're an Android user. And finally, with the opening of a new Alice, Texas location, Dollar General now has 20,000 stores. In 2024, the chain plans to open about 800 more, so it seems like at least someone is thriving during inflation. Okay, on to our main story today. Our big story is about the grueling nature of tech job interviews. They've always been a little different from your average interview process, but it seems like they're getting much longer and much worse for prospective employees. So Sara, what's going on here?
Yeah, I think anyone who might have been interviewing recently, you probably noticed that the process was pretty drawn out. Just a lot of rounds of interviews, oftentimes unpaid assignments, sometimes pretty in-depth and time-consuming assignments, depending on the position. And even worse, at the end of all of that, a good amount of ghosting. So you're not even hearing back once you've done all of this unpaid labor. But I am here to say that it's not just your imagination. The time to hire has actually gotten longer. So it's up a full day from 2022 to 44 days on average in 2023, wow, which is quite a long time. That's a month and 14 days. So, yeah, that feels even longer when you're in it.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. 44 days is a very long time. And, I feel like this kind of extends to jobs in the tech industry that are not even engineer focused, but I imagine engineer focused jobs are even worse because you have so much kind of exam stuff going on in that way.
Yeah, exactly. And engineers are at many companies the highest paid positions aside from C-suite. So these jobs, have always been very competitive, but there is definitely a trend happening that the interviews are just getting much more painful here. There's a job site called interviewing.io, and their data showed that scoring a thumbs up on a technical interview did rise in difficulty 22% since 2022, according to their internal data. So I think, quite literally, the job interviews are getting harder. Not to mention, we know that there have been so many layoffs in the tech space in particular. So there's just a larger pool of talent vying for these jobs. That adds to the difficulty. And we're also seeing this play out in kind of anonymous corners of the internet, like Reddit and on an app called Blind, where people can talk about their companies anonymously, both of which are pretty popular with engineers. There's definitely a trend happening here that tech interviews are just getting more and more impossible, it seems.
Yeah. And that's fascinating too, what you mentioned about layoffs, since there have been so many layoffs this year already and last year by like a huge margin. And now these tech companies are hiring again. What do you think is the reason that these processes are taking even longer? Do you think it's because they want to vet new employees more? Or do you think it's because, I don't know, they maybe fired half of HR and recruiters potentially?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a little bit of both. I think part of it is that companies are still recalibrating after the pandemic. I think some were overhiring, underhiring, needed different types of positions as we shifted into remote work. There have been so many changes. I think also AI is playing a big role here, especially for tech companies and technical jobs. It's not only changing what positions companies are looking for and hiring for and the skill sets they're looking for. So now they might need people who are well-versed in AI, whereas before that didn't really exist. But it's also changing how applicants apply for jobs, interview for jobs. I think it's shaking up everything in this space. So that's part of it as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's fascinating too, the piece about AI, because I've read many reports that have kind of talked about the idea that AI is a big reason that we are kind of experiencing so many layoffs in tech. Do you think there's any truth to that at all? And kind of these AI engineer jobs that are becoming more popular, do you think that kind of lends itself to it?
That I don't know for sure. Yeah. I think that there's certainly at many of these companies renewed interest in the area. And I just from reporting on this piece saw plenty about the fact that there's just more pressure on engineers going up for these jobs to have these terms on their resume, to talk about this in interviews. So if you've gone your whole career without needing to focus on AI, that might come into play. I mean, there was a video that went viral on TikTok, and an engineering candidate in his job interview was using ChatGPT to generate a live script to answer questions about AI, which is, pretty ironic. But yeah. I think there needs to be a comfort level, at least with AI moving forward, that kind of appeared overnight for many of these positions. So I would assume it's changing what companies are looking for and also what candidates will be expected to be knowledgeable in.
Yeah, totally. Because I mean, on the surface level, using ChatGPT for your interview process sounds like cheating. But when you consider that you will probably have to use AI on the job too, maybe it doesn't sound that bad, actually.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I mean, so many of these roles require, as we mentioned, just really in-depth assignments. People were saying that they had to code entire apps from scratch, and you're working on a very tight deadline for turnaround time. So I don't think it's a bad thing if we could learn how to use these tools to even, help in the interview process in those situations. I don't think it takes away from one's knowledge to know how to use everything at their disposal.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, might help them speed up the interview process a little bit on their end too. Who knows?
Yeah, because 44 days, that feels too long.
Yeah, it's way too long. Well, thank you, Sara. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, that'll do it for us today. Thanks for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of the HubSpot podcast network. Our editor today is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clark. We've got a lot more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go get yourself signed up at thehustle.co/email, and we'll see you tomorrow. Hey, everybody, it's John from the Hustle Daily Show. I've been listening to an awesome podcast recently called Marketing Made Simple. It's hosted by Dr. JJ Peterson, and it's brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, which is the audio destination for business professionals. Marketing Made Simple brings you practical tips to make your marketing easy and, more importantly, make it actually work. I was listening to an episode recently that really stuck with me, and it was called How Real Should You Be at Work? In that episode, Dr. JJ Peterson and his co-host April Sunshine Hawkins talked with Ashley Menzies Babatunde, who is the creator and host of her own podcast called No Straight Path, and it explores the human stories behind success. But on their podcast, Ashley dove into the importance of embracing humanity in the workplace and acknowledging that setbacks and emotional challenges are a natural part of everybody's daily life. So I found that really, really impactful. You can listen to Marketing Made Simple wherever you get your podcasts.